And the OECD forecasts that Canada will have the worst economic growth out of all of its roughly 40 nations for the next 30 years.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day so far. I got a good one for you today. So, I've been out there on the YouTubes and interwebs trying to figure out what good news would make for a good video, and what do I see? A bunch of stuff about Alberta separation. Now, I will totally do a video of that, probably tomorrow, but I thought it was probably prevalent that I should do a video on the Privy Council's memo that they sent out a little while ago about Canada's dance with destitution and what we're going to be like if we keep on going down the same path. And that being the Mark Carney path. So, with no further ado, if you like this video, please like and subscribe and leave a little something in the chat. It helps make this go out to a lot more people. And other than that, let's get into this.
Just Saturday, Mark Carney announced that not only will he keep all of Justin Trudeau's reckless spending, he will add $130 billion more. Spending that will drive costs higher for food, housing, and everything else. Spending that will risk our economy and threaten our future. And this isn't just my words. It's Mark Carney's own government department. Just a week ago, we learned that one of the departments of the government, the Privy Council office, has made some very depressing predictions about the way the country is headed after a decade of Liberal rule. I'm going to quote directly from this Privy Council report. In 2040, upward mobility is almost unheard of in Canada, they predict. Hardly anyone believes they can build a better life for themselves or their children through their own efforts, and many worry about sliding down the social order. It forecasts more people may struggle to afford rent, bills, and groceries. Resulting stress could worsen mental health challenges. This would increase demand for social services. And then there's some specific forecasts that the current Liberal government is making about our future. In 2040, owning a home is not a realistic goal for many. Inequality between those who rent and those who own has become a key driver of social, economic, and political conflict. The report goes on to say that people may lose faith in the Canadian project altogether. It forecasts that many will leave the country to avoid this rising cost and declining opportunity. And they believe that it will lead to a mental health crisis. More people will emigrate to jurisdictions where they believe upward mobility and or higher standards of living are easier to obtain. Quote, if young workers leave Canada, it may become harder to pay for the systems that support a growing number of older people. It says things are so bad that, and this is a quote, I'm quoting from the government here, if I had said this myself, you would have thought it was outlandish, but this is the government's own predictions about how bad things are headed right now. People may start to hunt, fish, and forage on public lands and waterways because they can't afford groceries anymore. This isn't my prediction. This is where the country is headed if we continue down the Liberal track. It sounds incredible, something from a post-apocalyptic TV show like Fallout or The Last of Us, but this is the forecast from Prime Minister Carney's own government department, the Privy Council office. Now, Mr. Carney plans to continue the very policies that got us into this mess in the first place. In fact, he plans to go even further. $130 billion of additional spending above and beyond what Justin Trudeau had already promised will take the new debt that Liberals are projected to add over the next 4 years to $250 billion of inflationary, cost-driving spending that threatens our social programs and our future. Monsieur Carney va non seulement maintenir toutes les dettes.
So that's what Mark Carney's own governmental office is saying, is if we continue spending like Mark Carney just said he's going to spend an extra $130 billion with a B. And if you read his book, there's a bunch of carbon taxes, a lot of environmental, say, economic fanaticism in there, and things are going to get rough. And this projection seems to be likely. So I've never heard of anything like this happening in Canada ever. I've never experienced it, maybe in the founding days, but I'm going to get pretty good at hunting, let's just say. Though this is a good time to segue into the actual Privy Council memo that they sent out. So this is from the Future Live Social Mobility in Question. So they have it right there. They're telling us that social mobility lies in the heart of the Canadian project. Many people in Canada assume that the following the rules and doing the right things will lead to a better life. Anyone can get an education, work hard, buy property, and climb the social and economic ladder. This is an informal but powerful promise. So when Pierre Poilievre talks about the Canadian project, and when this article talks about the Canadian project, that's what that means. So let's go through this a little bit, shall we? So they say it's a little bit more like snakes and ladders. With post-secondary education, pursuing post-secondary education is no longer considered a reliable path to social mobility, which it's already not. Come on, how many people went into or told you had to go to college to get a good job only to figure out that there's no job at the end? You have to work at the, I don't know, local diner or local diner. How old am I? Or you have to go work at a home hardware as a yardsman, getting paid $12 an hour. Yet you go to school to become a lawyer or something. Housing, well, we all know that. Yeah, housing's not realistic anymore, especially with the inflation that's going to come. Intergenerational wealth. They say people who see inheritance as the only reliable way to get ahead. That's millennials right now. Millennials are banking on boomer inheritances. Now, of course, not all millennials, and I'm not going to keep on saying the not all thing, but it's a very large part of how we're actually going to get a house or get up in the social matter. Social siling. So people rarely mix with others of a different socioeconomic status. Well, that's always been that thing. Say you're in the middle class, you're not going to go to the upper class and start mingling with them right away. You're probably going to more mingle with the middle upper class. Because you'll have, what do I have in common with the Mark Carneys of the world? Or the Mr. Wonderfuls of Canada? Not that much. And I think in a little bit of a way, that's what they're talking about as well, is because a lot of the middle class, or what was the middle class, is going to be so hard just working and working, just making it day to day. We don't have time to expand our social group beyond the people we work with. So that might be something that they're talking about here. Plus, we won't have enough money to really go on those trips that the rich go on, right? Artificial intelligence. So yeah, we all know when AI comes out, there's going to be a lot of programming. There's going to be a lot of law jobs and admin jobs that are going to go away. It's just is what it is. So they say the policy implications. The Canadian economy could shrink or become less predictable. It's already shrinking. It's already shrinking. The weird thing that came out earlier today was something where financial analysts were saying we are going to go into a 6-month recession, but our economy is going to increase. And I'm like, how does that work? People stop spending, people don't go out, and we're in a recession. How does an economy increase? And they said in this article that people are going to lose their jobs. How screwed up does our financial system have to be for our economy to increase while people are losing their jobs? Maybe I'm just stupid, but I don't get it. Usually you'd think an economy would increase when people have more money to spend on frivolous shit. But that's just me. I'm just a guy who reads news off the internet. What do I know? So capital investment in new enterprises may concentrate in the hands of a small number of the very wealthy. Well, yeah. And we're going to see a decrease in investment in oil and gas. That's for sure. Trade unions, including non-traditional freelance unions, could grow in power as workers become frustrated and likely disrupt economic and development. We've already been seeing that. Every year there's a strike by the CN rail network for better wages and better working conditions, and that one railway shuts all of our economy down. I think Justin Trudeau twice last year had to implement back to work legislation. Property ownership, we pretty much already don't own our own property. Let's be honest, right? With property taxes and the ability for the government to take away your land at any time, you might own a house but not the land under it. They also say since many people have less in this future and see no way to improve their status through consumption and display, they spend less, they could shrink the consumer economy. Yeah, we just talked about that. Mental health, well, if you don't have enough money to spend, you're gonna just stay at home, do YouTube videos, and watch TV. Are you gonna be able to go out and date if you can't earn enough money to have the extra money to go out on dates? No, so then you're not gonna get a girlfriend. So then you're not gonna be able to have a family, which would increase your mental health. Stuff like that. The basic stuff is not going to happen because the economy is poop. But this is what the parliamentary budget officer is warning. They say fewer people may have the drive to build and innovate in this context. Policymakers may no longer be able to take for granted the people will be motivated better for their lot. Workers may seek greener pastures elsewhere. Canada may become a less attractive destination for migrants, as is seen as a country where upward mobility is uncommon. And we're already seeing that too. How many stories have I read that immigrants come to this country for a better life and they leave right when they can because they were like, Canada was a trap? And I've been seeing a lot of those videos on YouTube every once in a while. Now, the one people might find alternative ways to meet their basic needs. I think this is where the hunting and fishing thing comes into place. But it's awesome that people get to do that recreationally, but to need to do it, that's a little iffy. So housing, food, childcare, and healthcare cooperatives may be more common. This could ease the burdens on social services, but also challenge market-based businesses. Forms of person-to-person exchange of goods and services, bartering pretty much, could become more popular. Awesome. I say do it. Then you don't have to pay any taxes. People may start to hunt, fish, and forage public lands. Government may come to see irrelevant if they cannot enforce basic regulations or if people increasingly rely on grassroots solutions to meet basic needs. And hey, isn't government basically irrelevant right now except increasing your taxes and making your life worse? I mean, heck, our healthcare is shit anyways. I've been trying to get an appointment for a neurologist for 2 years already and I'm still on the wait list. And this thing needs to be done. The one good thing that government's here for, and it's screwing it up, just like everything else. Okay, post-secondary education may become a stranded asset, as the old belief that PSC is a reliable path upward mobility breaks and enrollments plummet. The sector may become stranded asset. The expected social mobility returns to massive public investments in the sector may not happen. If so, popular support for the PSE system may decline, which could damage the sector's contributions to economic growth through research and development. Well, I mean, a lot of these universities are already woke factories where normal people go in and radical leftists come out, so let them fail. But the government will never do that because, I don't know, because they never let anything fail. I would have said back in the day that's where all the liberal votes come from, but looking from the last election, a lot of conservative votes came from the 19 to 20-year-old. So, the 3.6, people may reject systems they believe have failed them. And we're already seeing that. The mainstream media. We had a pretty dang good mainstream media back in the day. Like CBC worked as it was functioned to. Same with CTV and all that. Now what do you see? Like, half of us don't believe that they're bipartisan. The other half do. Pretty much that's the boomers against everybody else, but let's see what they say. People who work hard but see little reward may look for others to blame. Now this is yes and this is no, because it says people who work hard. If they work hard, usually with a little bit of luck, that would increase your success. And I do agree that a lot of people look to older people as the at fault, or look to like the rich, let's say, to be at fault, but we don't actually look at our politicians or liberals if some, well, let's say, yeah, liberals, if something doesn't go good for them, they look at conservatives and it's the conservatives' fault. But you don't look at the bureaucrats. You don't look at the managerial class. You don't look at the political class of people. The people who are actually in charge, who are actually corrupt. And I think that's kind of what they're talking about, is like either these hard workers will start to blame the policies put in place, which they probably will deem as a bad thing. Some may blame AI, big tech, CEOs, social media, unions, or capitalism. See, right there. They could demand tighter regulations, tax penalties, or profound revisions of certain systems. I could see that. Kind of, maybe. Tighter regulations. Yeah, I could see that. Interesting how they don't say politicians there, though. Interesting. I guess that's why they have some may blame. Oh, okay, here we go. Maybe I should read down a little bit. Some may blame the state. They may attack policies believed to favor older cohorts who benefited from the era of social mobility. In extreme cases, people could reject the state's legitimacy, leading to higher rates of tax evasion or other forms of civil disobedience. Now, you should never pay your taxes, people. Pay your taxes. Tax evasion is never a good thing, and they will always find you. Some may choose to blame those with capital, whether it's social, economic, or decision-making capital. Well, the decision-making capital, yes, but it's not... I wouldn't say it's rich people's fault that other people are destitute. It's more the people making decisions. So are they rich, and are they bribing our politicians to do something that's against Canadians' benefit? Kind of like Mark Carney, who started building pipelines in Brazil and in the United States, and then moved Brookfield assets to the United States, and then was saying we should implement a carbon tax and stop building pipelines in Canada. I'm just saying, others may choose to blame immigrants or other identifiable group. If such scapegoating becomes widespread, it could generate serious social or political conflicts. So this just sounds like a very, very fun future, doesn't it? And I believe they said that this was upcoming 2030. So, nope, 2040. So they keep having on here in 2040, in 2040, in 2040, in 2040. So this is coming up fast. 15 years. And we're already seeing it in 2020. Wow, back in 2023. So get ready, friends. And thank you, liberals, for voting to, pursue this destitution we're all going to be in. And elbows up. Elbows up. Anyways, that's all I got for you today. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to donate, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link down below. Everything's appreciated, and it goes straight back to the channel. And if you'd like to be a member, I will try to have some membership stuff up, membership-only stuff in the coming weeks. And like I said, everything like that goes back to the channel as well. But just a message in the chat and a like helps just as well. So other than that, have a great day.